Hello, welcome to Discover Dorico. Today we're going to be looking at creating a title page and other front matter pages as well, and hopefully doing that in a way that means that it's reproducible content, so you're not just creating it once but as a page template that we can also use in other places as well. So that will be today. I'm going to be checking the chat, of course, over here as well. It's only me here, so if there's any questions or comments, let me know. Also, hopefully somebody will let me know in a minute if you can hear everything okay, if you can see everything okay. This is live. Let's find out. I'll be using Dorico 5020 today, and I'm going to be using Dorico Pro. So if you're going to be following along, you will need Dorico Pro. Earlier versions will actually work for, I think, most of what we're doing today. If you want to use it, but it will need to be Dorico Pro because we'll be using the template options in engrave mode for a lot of this. Yes, that's what we'll be doing today. I can see there's a few comments over here in the chat, so let me just check that's working as well. And let's, if somebody can let me know, presumably you can hear me okay, it's not distorted or anything else. The example I'm going to, I think, use today as a start, you can follow along if you want to, no problem. The example I'm going to use is this one. It's actually one of the VSL example files, Vienna Symphonic Library. It's one of the files that they give you as a download if you're using one of their libraries. So I'm going to use this one. So you have a little earworm. I'll play a bit of this as well to you. How much we can play before YouTube says, "Oh, that's an orchestra of whichever playing film music." Anyway, so thank you, Lily. She's let me know audio and visuals all coming through fine. Also, thank you, Lily, for actually for a lot of the information and also the idea for this particular session and what people would be interested in as well. So. And also thank you to Anthony for a lot of the things for this session as well, and a nice graphic that you had at the beginning as well, and and lots of the things. Please don't believe this is all me. I'm just the person who's telling you. I'm just the messenger. But yes, let's get on with today's session. I can see we've got people from all over the place actually today. So from Berlin. That message just it disappeared again. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and Frank's on from South Africa, and Nashville, and yeah. So let's get started. So, creating a title page. So if you want to follow along with this one, it doesn't really matter which project you're using. To start off with, I'll just use this one because it has some music in it. It will be a useful example. Also, in this particular one, in this particular case, the file is on A3 paper for the score and A4 for the parts. You might have tabloid and letter. You might be using landscape portrait. There's a couple of reasons why thinking of the paper sizes is also potentially important. So I'll explain that as we go along as well. And yeah, let's get started. So we want to make a title page on this one. You can see we've already got some of the page set up, just so you can see what I've got set up in this one. There's some copyright details at the bottom. They do have flow headers turned on this one. So the flow headers are on here. So if I go to engrave mode, then you'll see... Oh, on the wrong page. The flow headers are on at this point. And they've also already added the arranged by as well as the composer in this particular one. Now with the flow headers, normally it has a 1 dot at the beginning, so the flow headers normally have it tells you the flow number as well, and that's been turned off already in this file. But it hasn't been turned off in the part, so I'll show you how we do that as well. I'm just going to remove me from a second from this view because I'm going to get in the way. Down here on the right hand side we have this flow headings section here, and in here we've got this flow heading that's in here. Now this is the one that I've already edited so that it doesn't have the number on the beginning, and I'll show you how I did that in a part, because all of the parts still have this little number over here and we want to remove them from all of the parts. So to do that, in this particular case, I'm going to click on the flow headings over here, and we have some tokens in here. It says flow number dot, so I'm just going to remove that. Press apply and close. As I said, I've already done that from the score, and now I've just done it for all of the parts as well. And also this one, if I just contract that and look at this one, in the first page template here, it already has the music by composer, arranged by arranger, and the a slightly larger size for the copyright details at the bottom down here as well. So all of those have already been done in this particular project, if that's looking any different to a project you're already looking at if you're following along. So either way, whatever you're doing, you want to make a title page. So on the right hand side over here, we've got all our pages and information, and when I click over here, some of these buttons will light up at the bottom. And you think, right, for a title page, what I want to do is add a new page, and actually that's not what you want to do. Don't use that button. So the Insert Pages button, you can use it, but I'm going to recommend you don't at this point. If you use the Insert Pages button, it's going to insert a page, and a page is then effectively not following a template, so it's going to be an override at that point. And yes, you can tell it, you can insert a title, you can insert a page template at that point, and you can do it, but let's do it this way. It's an easier way, and I think it will explain things better, and it'll be quicker for you, because really what I'm aiming to do is to get you using Dorico and get you using it as quickly as possible. So I've clicked on this first page over here, page 1, and down here I'm going to click on this button here, which is the Insert Page Template Change button, and I'm going to say that we want to insert a page template, and you have a couple of templates here. Now, of course, we don't have our template yet, do we? So that's what we want to do first. On the right hand side over here, just behind my head, if I get out of the way this way, there we go. There's a little button I'll get out of the way. Go away. There's a little button down here for a plus. So I'm going to make a new page template, and I'm going to call this title. So we're doing this bit first. We're going to make our title page first. So I'll press OK. It doesn't need to be based on anything, and the type can be custom. That's fine. So now on the right hand side down here we have our default and our first, and you see you get this green highlight, and that's because page 1 is using the first page template, and when I click on page 2 it's using the default template here. But I have title now, so I'm going to double click on title, and this is going to bring me here to this page where I can now add the information that I want. Now in most cases you'll actually be using the page on the right, but I'm going to make the same page, the page is the same both sides with the copy layout, so it doesn't matter if you're working on the left or the right. A lot of people seem to start right on the left, so let's do that. So over here we have our frames tool, and I'm going to use the text frame, and I'm going to add a text frame up here. So I'm going to make it full width, because then it will be, if you wanted to center something, then you can if it's full width. I'm actually going to make this left aligned, but you get the choice. So I'm going to say, well, I'm going to use all this space at the top with a text frame, and I can double click in here and I can add text in here, and the text I'm going to add isn't the title or something else, it's a token. So I can add those, but I need to make sure there's some information as well that the tokens are going to use. So if you go to the File menu and you go to Project Info, or you press Command or Control I, then make sure in your Project Info you have information. So here is the project title. There is a subtitle if you want it, composer if you want it, arranger, etc., etc. I'm also going to add an artist. I'm going to use the artist field, and I'm going to put Silvestri in there, so it's just the surname of the composer, and I'll use the artist field for that. And there's other fields if you want to put them, if you want to put other information in and that kind of thing. In fact, let's say in the dedication we'll use this one, and we'll say for orchestra, if I could spell. Apparently not. There we go, for orchestra. So you can fill in these fields and put whatever you need. There are also fields for each flow if you want them. I'm just going to use the project ones at the moment, because I'm going to be doing this title page for the project as a whole. I'm just checking there were any comments. No, good. Just hello. They're from a lot of places. Thank you for joining, and I'm glad you're all awake. So I've got my project info. Press apply and close. And now I'm going to use those. So over here in my text field I can double click, and then I could write in those tokens, but you don't want to write them in. So right click instead, and then you can choose from a whole bunch of tokens here. So project info, you might want to pick title. Some people like large title of the piece and then the composer underneath smaller. Some people like the large composer text and then smaller title underneath. And it probably depends what's the most well known. Now I suppose you could argue that Forrest Gump is more well known than Silvestri, and I'm going to say, well, it shouldn't be. So I'm going to say, in this particular case, I'm going to use project artist. So I'm going for a style of large composer name, at least the surname, and then other information underneath it. design exactly what you want at this point, but that's what I'm going to use. Now this is particularly small because when you choose it here, you can see all of the font sizes and things it's using and the size, but also the paragraph style. Now I'm going to suggest at this point that you make a new paragraph style for this, because it's much easier to then change over lots of things. If you're going to use this in multiple places, then it's very useful to have a paragraph style and to set that. You can also import and export them more. It's just a better way to go from the beginning. If you think, I commonly, if that's the way you would start, I commonly use this. Well, if it's a commonly thing, set it up so that you can reuse it a lot. So here's the paragraph styles. They're in the library menu in version 5. They were in the engrave menu in some earlier versions. And you can make, as well as all the existing styles here and copy them, you can make new styles. So I'm going to say just click plus for a new paragraph style, and I'm going to call this a title. But this is going to be, actually no, it's not the title, this is going to be the artist name, and it's going to be the one that I use on the score. So I'm going to label it in particular because it may be that when you use this on the parts, you want a different size, and that's because of the paper size and everything else. So I'm going to say this is going to be the artist name, but it's going to be maybe on the title page. So you call it whatever you like, but let's say it's called title page artist score, so that I know what it is. And we're going to set a particularly large font size for this, and I'm going to set a font type of imprint MT shadow. Let's see if this is way too big. There's lots of other things you can set in here, like alignment and borders and other things, but I'm going to leave those and just press OK. So I've got a title page artist score, and then I'm going to double click over here, and I'm going to set this bit of text to use my title page artist score style, which is massive. I'm going to see how that actually looks when we get there, but you can see what we're doing. Now I'm going to add some other items. So I'm going to say in here we're going to add in a this will be the project title, and I'm going to use, because it already exists, I'm going to use our title size, but I'm going to make it left aligned. I should probably make a new paragraph style for that, I'll admit, but for just for showing you the kind of the ideas and the concepts today, let's just do that. And then in here we're going to put we're going to use the dedication. In this particular case it will say for orchestra, which is fine, but maybe there's a dedication or something else you commonly want to use. At the bottom down here, let's draw a text box down here and put the publisher's information. So if I right click and use the publisher, and I'm going to center that one, I should probably have made that part of the paragraph style as well. So actually I think there is one for publisher we could probably use. Maybe I might want to import that one later. There are some some styles for those, but let's leave it as default text for now. And let's add a graphic. So let's say in here I'll add a graphics frame. So I've used my graphics frame button up here and drag this one out, and then I'm going to use the Valerio Dorico mark, so that and put that, so that will be my graphic that will appear on all of them. I can copy the information from left to right, so that I have the same on both pages, because this is probably the page it's going to be used. Let's see how all of this looks. Press apply and close. So I've got my title page. Right, I want to use my title page now and see it. So this is where I said you probably, on the right hand side, you have before gone, oh well, what I'll do is create a new page here. So say here's page 1, and if I click on this button I can insert a new page. Don't do that. Don't do that. Use this button instead, which is insert page template change, and I'll show you why. So now I have my title page. So I'm going to say from page 1, use the page template title only on that page, and press OK. And it says OK, so page 1 is going to be your title page, which means there's no music frame, no music can start on this page, so I'm going to start here with all of your music and carry on from there. So effectively, in that one step, instead of adding a page and then adding a page template change and that kind of thing, it's kind of done it in one step really, which is much more useful. You can see up here there's a green line which shows you that there's a page template change from that point, which is good, and then it's carrying on with the rest of it. Now, if you want, optional, if you want your music to now start with the first page template on this page, because at the moment this one, if I press on 2, it's now using, you can see behind my head, it's now using the default page, and you probably want to use the first page, or in this case I do anyway. So what I'm going to do is, instead of changing it over here, there is actually an option in layout options. So library layout options, Command Shift L, Control Shift L. And you can say in here that for flows, use the first page template, not just for the first flow, but any flow starting at the top of the page. Because this isn't now effectively the very start of the project because there's a title page, then you want to say flow starting at top of page. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to press apply, which is just behind my shoulder, and then press close. And now I've got my title page, and then it's going to use the first page template, and then page 3 is going to use the default page template onwards. So now I have what I wanted, which is my title page, the first page, and then the defaults for everything else. So does that make sense? There's no questions I can see in the chat so far. So that all looking good so far? Now, so why did we do it this way? Well, we did it this way because I've made a page template, so I can now reuse this in other places, and we'll do that, a lot of that. There may be cases where you want to, actually add extra pages and and that kind of thing, and add extra content. So you can, if you need to, use this insert pages button, and you can tell it where you would like to insert a blank page and use it that way. You can also, though, if you in your page templates, so down here again, if I add a new page template, I'm going to make a blank page template. So it's just going to be called blank, based on nothing, custom. So now I have a blank. And the reason I'm going to do that is that on the right hand side over here, I can click on page 2, and I can say, actually, you can right click and get these options as well, but I'm going to use this button here again. And I'm going to say from page 2, just for the current page, use blank. And it will say, okay, so I've now got page 1 and a blank. So maybe you've got other front page content that you want to put in places. And at the moment, this is currently also not a page override, which could be quite useful. Let's say you want another one. Click on this one, add another blank page. And that one is now also using it. And then your music continues and starts on the first page, and the world is good. So now on these pages, maybe, as I've said a little while ago, if you start something and say, well, on my other front page matter pages, I commonly, or I normally, in that case, you want to make a page template for those two. You want to go on the right hand side in the page template section, make a page template for your common whatever you would use as front page matter. So it could be notation information, vocal text, what the inspiration of the piece was, the poem, the text, who it was commissioned by. In fact, that's probably on the title page if it's being commissioned by. It could be score length, it could be other publisher information, instrumentation list, or maybe this page left intentionally blank, or whatever it is you need. If you've got any of those common pages, save yourself a whole bunch of time by making a page template for them first, because then you can reuse them much more easily later on, which will save you a lot of time in the end. I can already see one of the comments. I've never used the insert page template before. I've been doing it the unrecommended way. This is helpful. I'll be honest, I hadn't been either. But when you actually talk to our team and find out how some of these things were intended and what some of the features are, then you find out how you should be doing it properly, like I have. So I'm just passing the information on. Now, you will probably need to also make some pages which are page overrides just for one particular case. So I've got these two blank pages. You can still, of course, choose your frames tool and add information to these like a text frame. By the way, if you're using these buttons a lot to switch between graphical editing, frames, even the note spacing and staff spacing options and things like that down here, if you want to set shortcuts for those, they don't have a default shortcut, but in the preferences, so Dorico preferences or edit preferences on PC, in the key commands section, in the edit section, there are a whole bunch of options here, but the ones you want is edit frames is this button I have selected here. Edit graphic slices is the one down here. Edit graphically is this one here. So all of those, and there's edit note spacing and there's edit staff spacing as well if you want them. So you can assign shortcuts to them. So if for edit frames you want to assign a shortcut, click in here, type shortcut. It'll check to make sure you've not used it before. You can add a key command. And now you have a key command for that. So if you're in this section here and you want to add a frame, you can tap on your shortcut and get, you're going to have to go over here to select a new frame, create a new frame. But if you've got frames, you can then maybe edit them a little more easily because you're not having to go over there all the time to click on the frames tool. So click on a text item. Let's just put a text box in the middle of here, for example, and let's just say it's a page override. It's fine. You can see it's a page override because we have this little red triangle over here. I have good reason because it's a bit of text that I'm only going to put in this one project, and I'm just going to change it to say this is title size, and it's a a bit of text I only want in this particular project, and I only want it in this particular layout, this score. I don't need it in the parts or anywhere else, so I'm fine with it being a page template, not a page template. It's just a page override. It's fine. Similarly, you might want to add things like musical examples and things. So on the next page, let's say we want to add a musical example of something over here. Now you can do that using flows. So you can insert a flow on this page, and this could be useful if it's a contemporary piece of music where you're maybe explaining some of the notation or some of the styles or how some of the things should be played or any of that kind of thing. Then all of those kind of things might be useful on one or more pages at the front to explain what's going on. So let's have a look at doing an example of that. So in setup mode, I only have one flow by default, and so what I'm going to do is, in fact, they've also turned off some of the panels, so let's turn some of these back on again. There we go. So I only have one flow at the moment. I'm going to make a new flow. So tap this button here. And Dorico will think for a minute. There are quite a lot of instruments. And it's going to add a new flow into this one. Oh, there's a couple of questions as well. Let me just check that. Well, Lily's doing a good job of answering the questions. Thank you. Page numbers, they were in the page template as well. I'll come back to those if we don't already. In fact, yeah, don't let me get sidetracked. And Lily, if I forget page numbers, let me know. So now I've got this extra flow. Excuse me. I mean, page numbers actually might be a good case for why in your blank page template you might also want to include page numbers. So it's called blank, but if I double click in here, oh, interesting. Seem to have that on there. Oh. I then caused myself an issue, hadn't I, by loading too many things on this machine all at the same time. Bear with me a second. Let's do that again. So with page numbers, they're also a token. So exactly the same as you had with the page, sorry, the project titles and all of those kind of things, and artists and all that kind of thing. All of that kind of information is also available, but things like the project length, the page number, those kind of things, they're also tokens that you can put on a page. So let's just have a look at it. Probably, I don't know, would you put them in blank pages? Lily, would you put page numbers on blank pages? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, you're slightly behind me seconds wise, so it's fine. Anyway, so here is the blank page template, and well, you could, if you wanted to, add a text frame. So let's say we want them, I don't know, in the middle at the bottom. It could be anywhere. If you right click in here, then you've got various things you can add, layout numbers and transpositions and things, and the pages including page number. So page number can be added as a token on the left, on the right, in the middle, wherever you would like it to be, and then if you copy that left to right, then you'll get a page number on both. So your blank pages, if you wanted them to, could have page numbers like that. Oh, I lost my text. Let me quickly put that back because I like that. And I did this, and then I put this text into here, and then I made this a title size. That's what we did. And now, what I was also going to do is add in an extra flow. That's what I was doing, so that we can have a little excerpt of information on this page. So it's a descriptive something. So, oh, wrong ones. Tap the wrong buttons. Got all the right panels. There we go. So now what we're going to do is, now we've got flows. So I've got two flows. I've got this one at the beginning, and I've got this one which doesn't have anything in it. Now there's an awful lot of people in this flow, and I only want one of them. So here's Lily's tip. You can choose all but one. So I'm just going to leave the flute at the top. So I choose all of these, and then untick the flow. Oh, it's behind. It's just, there we go, I've eaten it. So it's turned off. And then if you choose the layouts, because you don't want them in any of the other layouts as well, you can choose the layouts from here to here. So all of the layouts are chosen, and then you can similarly tick this box for the flows and turn it off. Gone. So now we have a flow. Why are we doing this? Oh yes. Now we have this little flow in here, which is fine. We're just a single rest of flute. We don't need it in here. So what we want to do in this, which is the score, is say, I don't need this. I don't need this flow at the end over here. I might need it somewhere else, but I really don't need it here. So in engrave mode, your default page template over here, you can come into here, and at the top you have filters. See, there's already a page number token up here. So you have filters here, so you can choose flows, and you can choose which flows you want to appear. So I don't want flow 2, I just want the Forrest Gump main one. So in your default flow, in your default page template, I'll hit the microphone, you are only saying, I only want to see that one particular flow. So now when I press apply and close, here is my score with the first page we have inside after the template. We're going to use this page. We then have the rest of the piece, which starts with the right option that we wanted. We have all of the other default pages, and then it ends, and there's nothing else. That other flow doesn't exist. And now we want to use that flow. So how do we use it? So on this page here, this blank page, I'm going to go back to my frames tool. I'm going to choose, you see we have three options here. We've used the graphics one, we've used the text one, now we'll use the insert music frame. So we'll insert a music frame, and I'll just draw this out on the page about here. And then Dorico is going to say, oh, would you like by any chance this flow? Well, you have a choice, so you can choose which flows you want at this point. If you had more than one, if you had more than one example, lots of examples of different styles of notation that you wanted to show or anything else, you could do that if you wanted to. And what I'm going to do is just quickly, I'm going to take some of the music from here. So let's say we'll just take this music from the piccolo. I'll copy that, and I'll come over here, and this is still music we can use and edit and everything else, so I'll paste that into there. We'll drop it an octave. We better put it in some sort of time, and we probably also better put the right key signature in. So now we have that bit of music. Well, actually I don't need that bar, do I? So we'll do Shift B and say trim. I don't need that. Oh, actually I don't need that either. Don't need that, don't need bar numbers. In fact, we'll just do Shift B and -1. Get rid of it. Gone. You could have a different size for this if you wanted to. So if you right click on it, then you can do staff size. You have some smaller ones and a custom staff size. So maybe this wants to be size, I don't know, 150. You want a bigger example at the beginning of the piece, maybe. You don't have to have the labels at the beginning if you don't want to. If you go into engrave mode, when you choose a note or something at the beginning and choose a system break, so create system break or Shift S, then you'll get a system break in here with your signposts turned on. And if you choose this one in the properties panel at the bottom, then you can go to staff labels and you can turn them off. So if you've got different, lots of different excerpts with, maybe you do want some labels, maybe you don't want some other labels, you can choose them all individually if you want to with those as well. So set up whatever the example is that you want in here at whatever size you want. Doesn't have to be the same size as the score. Could be multiple examples. You might have text around these as well, so it might be that you want to say, oh, I don't know, some details about where the main theme is used and how often or something. I don't know. Ooh. Whatever you want to write in, text examples with them or anything else. So what we have effectively set up now is a title page which is following a page template and a couple of just individual bits which are only going to be needed in the score. They're not going to be needed in the parts, and they're going to be different in every project you do, so they're okay as page overrides. Like I said, if you're going to do these kind of pages, either of these, and you're going to say commonly I do this, make sure you set up these as page templates as well, and do them in the same way we did the title page, so you can then click on one of these pages and apply a page template at that point if you want to. But this is another example if you needed it. So now we want to reuse some of these elements, but before we move on, I better check the comments just in case. Yes, the video will be available later, as soon as we finished, or you can press pause now. Or not. But yes, as soon as we've finished, it will be available on the YouTube channel. Press subscribe and the bell thing to be notified of other videos. Oh, hello, Ant. I think we're okay for comments. If I've missed any, somebody point out if I've missed any of the comments or questions. So we want to reuse some of these bits. This page in particular we want to reuse and reuse it somewhere else. So for example, on some of the parts, so when you have a look through various parts, some of them are probably fine. By the way, if you want to turn off all of these boxes when you're looking at things, if you hold down the little backtick key, on my keyboard it's the key to the left of Z, then it will hide invisibles just while you've got the key held down. So if I let go, it comes back. If I press it down, they'll go away. So you can kind of see what the layout looks like. Now this kind of page, you're not going to need a title page on that one. It's fine. And some of these others, let's check the violins. You could adjust that and make it all fit on one page. If we want to do a session on that, then no problem, but we could make that fit on one page anyway. Let's try the flute. Let's presume this one we can't get onto one page, so we're going to add a title page so that when it's a foldable thing, then it will work. So let's presume we want a title page on this one. So I want to make a title page. So over here what we did is we went to this one and we went to here and we said there's no title page. Why is there no title page? Well, the answer is because we've only made a title page for the score layout, and you can see here it says the current set is the parts layout, and when we're on the score, then it says it's the default full score page template set that has all those other pages we've made. So, but we might want to use them in the parts. The other consideration is, as I said at the beginning, that my score is on A3 paper, yours might be tabloid, and my parts are on A4 paper. So what you need to watch out for is when you've made your template, this page template here, and I'm going to go double click on my page template down here. All of these boxes that we've made, all of these frames, they all have constraints, and these are going to be important. So what this is saying is that this box, I know the text is massive in it, it doesn't matter. These are setting where this sits on the page. Now bearing in mind, this, difficult to tell on the screen, this is an A3 page and another A3 page, and the parts are A4. They look the same, but they're not. Obviously they're a lot smaller. So when you go to the bottom down, oh no, not that one. I've just accidentally opened Dorico 4. Well done me. This is going to be interesting. As I'm talking, Dorico 4 is going to say, hello, I can do this too. Yes, I know you can, Dorico, but really, that's not useful right now. Thanks all the same. So in here, what we're looking at is the fact that all of these frames know exactly where they are from the left edge, the right edge, the top, and the bottom. So if you're ahead of me, you know now that on an A3 page, you're going to be 27 millimeters from the top of an A4 page instead of A3, and you're going to be 303 millimeters from the bottom of it's going to make a mess, isn't it? So what we want to do is choose these, and in this panel on the left hand side we probably want to say that we don't want to constrain to all of these edges. You have to have two of them. You have to have either a top and a bottom and either a left or a right, so it has to be able to position it on the page. But this one, for example, which I've selected with you can tell it's got a little blobs around the outside, is not going to be constrained at the bottom. This one I don't want to be constrained on the left or the bottom, and this one I don't want to be constrained on the left or the bottom. This one doesn't want to be on the top. It can be left and right and bottom, and this one can also be the same. Now these ones on this page on the right hand side, they are all they haven't inherited all the settings. So what you want to do is copy the page layout, and now these are also playing ball and they've also got the same constraints. So that is going to be important if your page changes size, for example when you try and use it on a part. So now we say in our parts, in the right hand side, we want to use it. So down here, and was it on my shoulder? Yeah, there's a button here import page template. So I'm going to use that button, and it's going to say from the score, which one do you want? And I'll say I'll have the title page, please, and press OK. So now my parts set has a title page. Hooray! So now we can say up here, do the same as before. Use this button, insert page template change, use the new title page that we've just imported, and only the current page, of course. And there we've got it. Now, it's too big, but at least it's a start. So this is where I think you then, at least you have all of the regions that you wanted. Some of them may need tweaking. For example, this graphic, if it's too big, you might want to change it. You can drag this box here. You can also use Alt up and down. And if you want to move it in big steps, then use Alt Control or Alt Command on Mac, up and down, to resize that box. The same with all of these. When you've selected a box, like this one, if you press Tab, then you can move around to all of the various bits around the edge, and you can select other frames and things as well. So I'm moving around, so for example, to the bottom section here, and I'm going to move that up. And then if I choose this one here and press Tab so it's not selected, I can use Command Alt and move that one up. Maybe that wants to be a little bit smaller. I don't know really. Let's say we're going to move this one up. I can drag it if you want to drag it with a mouse. Then you can also drag things with a mouse. But sometimes, especially when things overlap, sometimes it's easy to do it this way and to select all the options. And then things like this text here, which is mahoosive. If you go into your paragraph styles, what I made was a title page artist score, and I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to make a title page artist part. And this is going to be a smaller font size. Let's say it's only 80 instead of 180. So that I have a smaller one in here, and then this one here, because it's inherited this, I'm going to say actually use the part version for all of the parts, please. Haha. Now, did you see what I just did wrong there? I instantly went and edited it in here, didn't I? Shouldn't have done that, because I've now got a page override. So when I remove my page override, it would remove my change. All of those changes I did. Double click on your page template, actually do them in here. It'll make a lot more sense, because then you can do it on all of the parts, because the parts is the one that's really going to be the problematic one, really, because it's the parts that you want to be all the same, and you really don't want to be making these kind of tweaks to lots and lots of parts all at the same time. So make your changes in here. I'm going to put the graphic back in here as well. Oh, it's opened in my other monitor, but that's fine. So put the graphic back in, we've got what we wanted. This bit of text here needs to be our part size. We can leave the rest of it, make it the same both left and right, apply and close. Ta-da! So now we have all the information we wanted, a suitable font size for the parts, and when we want to use this on any of the other parts, so for example on our Flute 2 part, we can just say, because it's already here, this page, make it a title go. Ta-da! And the other thing that we did from the score at the beginning, when you go to your layout options, make sure that at least these parts, if not all of them, are also using your first page for any flow starting at the top of the page. Press apply and close, so that now you get all the first information at the top here, and the same on Flute 1. So you could very easily now apply that same template, and because it's a page template, if you make a change, if this graphic is too big, if these boxes need to be close together or anything else, you can just change the page template for the parts once, and all the parts that have it will all update at the same time, which will be very, very useful, because there are no page overrides up here in the top right hand corner. So the moment what we've managed to do is we've managed to create for the full score a page template, a couple of other pages with overrides, some other examples of other things you might want to put in, some page numbers. Thank you for the question, whoever asked that. We've managed to make sure we're using the first page template over here. Apart from if we've deliberately created manual pages, we don't have any red triangle overrides anywhere for anything else. We've created a new flow which is only used at this one specific place, so it doesn't appear at the end of the music or anything else, which is all good. And we've managed to use the basis of this design on the parts for when we want a title page on those parts as well. So that's that's all good. So the last thing I want to have a look at, hang on a second, was a question. Wouldn't it be nice to put the title pages and front matter on all the parts in one go? Maybe, but I think in reality a lot of parts don't have a title page. It's only depending on the number of pages. So maybe we could add something that says if you've got an even number of pages and they're going to be folded in that way, then maybe you want to add a title page. I don't know. I mean, once you've made one, as you can see, it's not a very slow process. I know you'd have to do it multiple times, but you choose page one, you choose this, you add your title page, and it's done. So there's hopefully, yes, maybe we could speed it up, but hopefully it's not too onerous. Now the next thing is you want to reuse a lot of these things in a different project. So you want to reuse them somewhere else. So what we're going to do is I'll go back to my score for a second. By the way, I'm using the shortcuts to jump between these. So in the window menu, there's next layout and previous layout. So I'm using those shortcuts because the flute part I was on was the previous one. Of course, you can also select an instrument and press W and jump straight to the part that way if you want to. So now on the right hand side, around my head, I should get out of the way. We have these things we've created. And if we want to reuse these in other projects, then what I'd suggest you do is at the bottom, go down here to Page Template Sets. So these Page Template Sets, it says there's a default full score and a default part. So I'll choose the default full score, and I'll press the plus button. And this is a new Page Template Set, but what it's actually going to do is create me a copy, as it's creating it based on the current one. So the default full score copy here. So I'm going to call this the front matter. So it's, maybe it's title, and I'm going to say that it's for the score, because what you probably want to do is also do one for the parts as well. So you'd say, you'd do the same thing and say that you've got a front matter or title page, whatever you want to call it, and this one's for parts. So you create those, and then these ones are now a usefully labeled thing that you can export. So you have import and export buttons down here. So I can export this as a little file. So I'm going to say that this is the front matter for the score. And you could do the same for the parts, etc., etc. I'll just do the score one for now. So now, when you start a new project, so it's a new project template, orchestral, classical's fine, that'll do. And Dorico will then load as that one, which is one of the default Dorico templates. And we'll just put that full screen like that. So we've got, we're writing a new piece of music. So it's going to be in 6/8, and it's got 101 bars, 102 bars. So now we want to add our title page to this. How do we do it without going into, creating a new title page and everything else? I know the layout and the style I want. It's the one I'd used before. So how do I do it? So at the bottom right hand side down here, what we'll do is we can go to Page Template Sets, and we can go to Import, and we can import the file that we've just made, the front matter score in this particular case. I'd also want to import front matter parts if I wanted to use that one as well. So now down here I have the front matter score page template set. Now one thing I will say to be wary of is there's an option here that says the current set is the default full score. You could change it. But if you've already set up anything up here regarding a new title page or anything else that you've done other than the Dorico defaults up here, changing the current set will delete basically everything that you have done already if there are things you've done. So if you're partway through a project, don't change this current set. I'm at the beginning, so it wouldn't matter too much, but don't change that. What you want to do is you want to click on this little button down here which says Import Page Template. Now this is the one we used in the parts earlier, but what we're going to do this time is, as well as from the parts, you can also now import from the extra page template set that I've just added. So I've imported this front matter score information. It has a first page, don't need it. It has a default page, Probably don't need that either. It has a title page, I do want that, and it has a blank page which also happens to have page numbers on the bottom, so I might want that too. So I can choose this, for example, the title page, and now in the set I'm currently using, I've added my title page. So now, if I click on page 1 again and say, I want to use the title page on page 1, please. And it says, OK, so here is your title page, which means when you filled in your project info and said this piece is called Wednesday by me and the artist is me, then you should find that it will start to populate your pages. Now, depending on your font sizes and everything else, I suppose, you might have got them wrong. But this isn't a font size issue. This is because, does anybody know? I suppose I don't have 30 seconds to wait for the comments, so I'll tell you. This is because the default Dorico project is on A4 paper, and my previous template was on A3. So now let's say my project is A3 paper. Ah, look, my template now looks correct because it's an A3 template. So maybe when you export your page templates or your sets or anything else, the score one, you might want to label it as well to say that it's A3 so that you remember, when you've labeled your page template sets down here in the bottom right hand corner and exported them, maybe you want to say, what size paper it is. But anyway, this one, so I've now got the same layout, the same design. I could add whichever graphic I need for this one because the areas and everything else are all set out, and they'd be self-populating if I'm using those particular areas. Again, you probably want this option to make sure you're starting the flow with the first page template so that you have what you expect at the top up here as well. But you can import that information much more easily. And if you do the same with the parts, you could import your page template set for parts. You can then switch to your parts, and you can just import one or more of those pages to use in the set that you're using. So it's much, much easier now to be reusable for all of those sections and things that you've got. What you may also find useful is in the library menu and the library manager. If you have a project you've previously worked on, then you can drag it into here. So let's say this one, for example, as another version. You can drag a project into here. You'll see it labeled up here. You can click on differences, and you can look, for example, at the paragraph styles. So if there are paragraph styles that you've created somewhere else, so here there was a title page artist and title that I've used before, you can choose these and decide if you want to import those or not into your current project. So if it wasn't necessarily part of the page templates, because those ones obviously have come across already, but if it was something else design-wise that you wanted to import, then you can also do that if you want to. I'm not going to import it right now, but you can do that with the library manager as well. So you just drag another file into there, you can get it to play spot the differences and just copy over the bits that you want. So you don't have to be recreating paragraph styles or recreating any of those type of things. So let's have a quick look at any of the comments. My comments window is not moving smoothly. Hang on, let me do this. Let's see if I've missed anything. Bear with me a second. Now's a good time to ask a question if you have any questions that I haven't answered yet. Frames for the title page. There's a good point about when you're doing all of these frames, they can't go outside of the page margins. The page margins are these grey lines. So if you want to make a design which is going to need to go all the way to the edges, and I know you may be doing some of these in a third-party program and designing graphics and things that way, but if you do want to do it in Dorico, then you would need in the layout options for the page margins, you would need to turn all of these off so that they're all 0. But that's going to do it for your whole project. So then you would also need to change the default and the first page templates to set up the music frames to be where you want them to be. I'm contemplating actually doing this and maybe making it available somewhere, but that's basically what you'd need to do because you can't go outside. Now, is it a good idea to go outside those? It's going to depend on the printer you have. If you're just making PDFs, it doesn't matter. But if you're printing these kind of things, you know, the bleed can matter, how close you are to the edges can matter, depending on the printer you're using and whether it can cope with it. So that's a whole extra bit, but that's how you would basically do it. Is you'd have to turn all those page margins to 0, so that they weren't, you know, they were at the edges, right at the edges. Then you can move these music frames, text frames, and graphics frames to the edges if you wanted to get outside those, if that would be useful. But it will affect all of your other pages as well. So you know, it might be useful, but that's how you could maybe do things like borders and things if you wanted to. So if you've got a border that's going to go right to the edge of the page. There was a live stream we did a few years ago at Christmas with a border round a page, wasn't there? Have a look on the YouTube channel. There is one, and maybe we did it in that one as an example. But yes, maybe that's what you want. Are frames nice? That's I couldn't even comment. Page numbers, we looked at those. Let me just have a quick look. Making consistency. Instrumentation list. There is an instrumentation list. So when you're doing these, I'm going to do something you shouldn't. No, I'm not. I'm going to here. So when you add a text frame, you don't want it in the middle of your title page, and you right click and you do it here. There are various other things like player list that you can use if you want an instrumentation list. However, I'm not sure it's always going to give you exactly what you want with percussion. But it will give you a playlist if you want it of everybody who's here. So that kind of thing will generate this for you if you want a playlist. So maybe not on the title page. Well, I don't know, maybe on the title page, but on one of the front matter pages, you might want that. What else? Page numbers. Yeah, video is available. Hide invisibles, one of Lily's top used key commands. It is, yeah, it's really useful. I mean, also, if you don't remember the hide invisibles, if you press Command 2 to go back to write mode, apart from this big X because I haven't put a graphic in, then also you don't see lots of those things. And when you've got things like signposts, I've got a shortcut that turns signposts on and off. So the view signposts, if you don't like those kind of things, then you know. So there are lots of things, other things you can make shortcuts for if you want them as well. Let me just get into the bottom of the comments, I think. Page contents. I don't know how many items we've put in it. You can make a one because you can do a combination of the. Well, hang on, I'll show you. In here, there are things like for the flow information, there's flow numbers that you can add, as well as flow duration if you wanted it, and flow titles, so you could use those if you're using multiple flows for things. There's also pages information, so there's page number within the flow, and you know, and those kind of things if you need them for page numbers. Sometimes people want to put when the project was last saved so that they know it and that kind of thing. So there are other things that you can do to make kind of a contents list if you want of, you know, this flow title by this flow composer on such and such page and that kind of thing if you want it. And if you do that once, you can just copy and paste the text out if you need it to use in future ones, or make a page template. Yeah, I suppose if you want the same logo on everything, if you're setting one of these up and you're saying that's what I want with the logo, I don't have the logo, but you know, that's what I want with the logo every time. Well, set your project up, possibly with the right instruments in it, possibly not. And then you can of course also do save as project template. And if you do save as project template, you have a Dorico file which is in the hub. So when you choose all of those templates and things in there, you can create your own categories for those if you want to, and save a project template with everything in it. Then it's already got the page template and everything else, and you can delete all the flows from it. You can delete all the instruments from it if you want to change instruments, but you've got your project with everything set up if that's the way you're going to work. And if you have a project like that, you can of course also then go file import flows, and you can import music from other Dorico files that you have, or other Dorico files that people have sent you, and import that into your template if you wish to work that way. So you can do it that way. settle everything up exactly how you look it, import the music, or then write the music in that project, or you can import and export the template itself if you want to do it that way. I think that's it for the questions. I will hang on a second just in case there's any other questions. I don't think I can think of anything else that on this particular topic. I'd love to see what some other people do with some of these templates. So if you want to either share the template or just what it looks like, then either on our forum or on Facebook or Instagram or whichever social media platform you wish, you can tag us and say, here's one I've made. You can also ask us questions if you're stuck with doing something on one of those as well. If you have a look on our blog recently, so blog.dorico.com, then there's a nice article where Lily and Leo Nicholson are working on a very large project and talking about what they've been doing with that one. And there are now some musical examples added to that one, so you can hear a bit of the piece and see a bit of the piece as well on there. So have a look on blog.dorico.com. Of course, follow us on social media, either YouTube or whichever one, to find out the latest things. You can even find us on TikTok. So yeah, follow us on one of those, and then you'll find out the latest information. There may be discounted offers coming up before Christmas, around Christmas, something before the end of the year maybe. So if you haven't yet upgraded to Dorico 5, for example, that might be a useful thing that you want to check out. As a Christmas present to yourself, maybe, or as a suggestion for one of your loved ones. I don't know. But yes, there may be that kind of offer around. If you're not watching this live, then no problem. Today, if you need today's date, is the 29th of November in 2023. But yes, we'll do a lot more of these sessions, I think, as well. So tell us what kind of topic and what kind of thing you're struggling with, you'd like to see in Dorico, what you'd like to see we talk about on here. That will be really useful for me to know. And then we can do some more of these sessions. Just seeing as there doesn't seem to be any more questions on there, so we will be on the chat for a little bit after this. But if you want to still ask us questions otherwise, then you can go to either dorico.com/forum, and you can find us on the Dorico forum. You can have a look on Facebook. There's a Facebook community group of lots of nice people who will answer questions on there. And you can also email me on discoverdorico@steinberg.de. So discoverdorico, all one word, @steinberg.de. So I think that's all for today's session. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.